Kahalalem Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Hashem HaKodash, and double honest to the great Muslim apostles. Father Yahushua, give me the strength in order to make this video. And also, obviously, as you can tell from the topic, it's pertaining to, in fact, I'll read the title again because I wrote it down here. It says, knowing two ends should deter a lazy spirit. Because obviously, as you brothers know, just to put it out there, it's quite obvious anyways. 3 weeks I haven't uploaded, and obviously you can't really be making excuses for that. So it just makes sense for me to make this video based on slothfulness and laziness, because that's really the spirit that was in the whole time anyways. So let me just get straight into it. It says here in Proverbs 19 verse 15, slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. And of course, as we know, when people enter a deep sleep, the thing is, it's hard to actually wake up from it. Normally, a person in a deep sleep, another person would be required to wake them up from it. And we can even pertain it to the world and also compare to the spirit as well. Because of the fact that before we entered the truth, we were really in the deep sleep into the world. So obviously, being tempted by worldly goods, worldly desires as well, and also different things of the world, which really was a distraction for us from actually knowing ourselves, from knowing our power, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, our power, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. So, of course, that deep sleep isn't really a good thing to have. Obviously, not in a physical sense, because obviously the body needs recovery, but in the spiritual sense, deep sleep isn't really good, because that deep sleep of which we had in the world is what really kept us, or really, how can I say this? Kept us in a state of which was not pleasing unto Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. So, as it says, his slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. And if even pertaining to in a carnal sense, if brothers don't work, it's not as if they're gonna get paid. And obviously, if you don't get paid, you're gonna go hungry. Obviously, we're talking about right now in the current state that we're in. So. If you pertain to the scriptures, if you don't work, the thing is to say, it says here in Proverbs 19 verse 15, an idle soul shall suffer hunger. So obviously, if you don't work, we're going to be hungry. And it's not talking about physical hunger, that's really spiritual hunger. Because if you compare the state of brothers, obviously for myself really, first time, when I came into the truth, 2020, knowing Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, learning the names, of course, finding out that I was an Israelite, not just a typical Nigerian, The thing is, I was actually more hungry to actually know more, to learn more, to get more wisdom. That's the thing, the fire was there. But obviously right now, brothers can notice that, that fire seems to be fading, which obviously is a dangerous thing as well. So of course, that's why, as brothers always say, you gotta pray that the spirit is always on you to keep that consistency, because it's not really that type of a lightweight thing where it's easy to just keep going, and it's not of our power, it's not of our will, which is why we need to pray to Yahushua for mercy, man, because getting that spirit taken away is not a feeling that I want to even fathom right now as well, because that's a scary thing, especially if as these CBDCs are coming out. 2023, I think you got the British one, you got the Indian one, China, they've already got the digital one, that's their currency. You got all these different CBDCs, central banking digital currencies that are coming out. You've tested it, or they're still testing it, whatever, but the point is, it's coming out soon. And of course, eventually, with all these diseases as well, we've got the impending zombie one as well, where the juice that people took before, that's going to start affecting them as well, because there was a video that I was watching that was talking about the cognitive decline of these individuals. This means that obviously their brain responses will be hindered, so they may even start becoming slow in responses. They may not be able to recall things as quickly. Of course, basically their brains are just not going to be as efficient, man. And obviously that difference is going to be clearer and clearer the longer this thing multiplies in their body as well. The oxide, obviously, Akim know what I'm talking about. But anyways, going back to the point though, the point is with all these things happening, CBDCs, the juice, people also what else? CBDCs, basically the mark of the beast system getting stronger in it with all these things that are happening as well. And of course Jacob's trouble, Jacob's trouble, that's the one. Jacob's trouble also coming soon as well, that's gonna start affecting people, the higher prices, leading to famines. The point is with everything else going, it's really not a time to get weak, man. And obviously with me making this video, if there's any brothers who may be in a similar situation, really probably younger brothers, it won't really be, it's really just advice for us really, for me first and foremost, because 3 weeks without uploading, that's not really a standard to go by. The point is consistency and strength. Speaking of consistency and strength, actually before I get into consistency and strength, the scripture that was on Proverbs 19 verse 15, it says, an idle soul shall suffer hunger, man. And of course we can also see that in a literal sense as well, because the way it says, the way it was promised as well in Job 5 verse 22, that we're going to laugh during famine and destruction. Job 5 verse 22, it says we're going to laugh in famine and destruction. The thing is, in that same time, if Yahweh Shem Yahshai pretty much rejects your spirit, or let's say if Yahweh Shem Yahshai rejects the spirit, whatever that may be, Yahweh just keep going and keep enduring. The point is, obviously, that then goes into the fact that the scriptures don't really apply, because by then Yahweh Shem Yahshai wouldn't be for you anymore, wouldn't be supporting you, wouldn't be as a strong tower. I think as it says in the book of Psalms. I wrote down the scripture somewhere as well. But the point is, as the scriptures say in Job 5 verse 22, thou shalt laugh in famine and destruction. The thing is, it won't really be a case like that if Yahweh Shem Yahshai doesn't see you worthy of even being that comforted to be able to laugh at famine and destruction. Because there's one thing to die of hunger, and there's one thing for Yahweh Shem Yahshai to also provide food for you as well and favor you. And obviously that favoring is rooted in our fear in him, and of course our ability to do our works, consistency as a servant, as a faithful and wise servant, as it says in the book of Matthew as well. But the point being is, the consistency and work is really the standard really, and doing it week in, week out, obviously whatever opportunity that's provided. And there's several opportunities that I've had, man, just meditating upon myself over the past few weeks. There's been several opportunities I could have made videos, but of course slothful spirit, which is one that I need to overcome, I have to overcome. And that's really it, just got to raise the standards. So I wrote down another scripture as well. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 10 verse 18. Ecclesiastes 10 verse 18. Again, pertaining to or referring to slothfulness, Ecclesiastes 10 verse 18, by much slothfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. And of course, if you really see it in a metaphorical sense, of course, the thing is, the building could be your spiritual connection with Yahweh Shem Yahshai. And of course, if you're not building up that connection, then of course you're going to be deteriorating that connection, especially in the fact that you're surrounded in an evil world, in a wicked world, obviously ruled by heathens, Esau, Edom being the number one man. The thing is, with all the temptations surrounding you as well, that's basically the world trying to drag you back in. If you're not building your connection with Yahweh Shem Yahshai, that automatically means by default you're just dying, you're decaying. So it says there, by much slothfulness, not really putting in the work, a lot of it, being lazy. It says the building decayeth. So of course, just imagine the spiritual connection between Yahweh Shem Yahshai and you yourself, obviously, in my case, obviously, between me and Yahweh Shem Yahshai. Obviously, if I ain't putting in the work, it means that my spiritual connection is decaying, man. Obviously, the signal's already there. Of course, brothers will alert you and basically pick you up, essentially to say, you gotta become more consistent. You gotta keep up with the standard, man. Just as as a soldier of Yahushua, man, endure hardness, innit? But obviously, the point really is having that standard and keeping up with that standard. That's really the point. And of course, if one keeps up with that standard, it means that one really can't have that connection to then decay. So then the rest of it says, and through, this is again Ecclesiastes 10 verse 18, and through idleness of the hands, the house droppeth through. So again, the house breaks down, man. So obviously that foundation that you had, that strength that you had in Yahweh Shem Yahshai, that reliance that you had in Yahweh Shem Yahshai, would then start breaking down. So that's really the result of being much lazy and being slothful. So again, that's when prioritizing Yahweh Shem Yahshai first and foremost comes in. And again, as I referred to before about the opportunities that I had in the past few weeks as well, but obviously the slothful spirit, again, not trying to make excuses, even though it may sound like I am. But the point is, obviously I gotta pick myself up and just gotta keep going, man. That's really it. He who endures to the end. Speaking of enduring to the end, let me get Galatians, I think it's 6 verse 9 or something. Yeah, it says here in Galatians 6 verse 9, and let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So the point is, fainting not, basically not being weak to the point where you fall out of the truth, man. That's really what it means. And also not being slothful to the point where Yahweh Shem Yahshai also kicks you out of the truth. Referring to that scripture talking about lukewarm. If we're lukewarm or cold, which is basically means you're of the world. If you're cold, man, you ain't got no life in you, then he's gonna spit you out. If it's lukewarm, if you have lukewarm works, then basically you're gonna be spat out. That's really the point of that scripture. Being lukewarm. In fact, let me actually get it. I wrote it down here somewhere. Oh yeah, come on. Revelation 3 verse 16. Okay. As it says here, so then, Revelation 3 verse 16, so then because thou art lukewarm, and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. So the point is, of course, lukewarm, Yahweh Shem Yahshai doesn't want, someone who's just coasting along, and that coasting along comes from a state of comfort, man. Thinking that, you pretty much need, like, being in a state where you're like, okay, you know the name, you're an Israelite, you've done some works, but even though it's not really enough, it's never really enough. That's the point. And of course, the thing is that comfort that a person reaches in this truth as well is dangerous, because at that point it's like, your works may start to turn lukewarm, or the thing is, which is another risk as well, just works being lukewarm, meaning just you're being lazy and not really producing up to the standard that's required. So that's what really lukewarm works is referring to. So again, the point is, if the slothful works are there, Yahweh Shem Yahshai, that puts a brother at risk of Yahweh Shem Yahshai spitting them out. And of course, when you spit out something, you do it with disgust. You don't want it in your mouth, just like, what is it? Well, I spit in it, as saliva. You don't want it in your mouth, you spit it out. Or if you got something in your throat that you don't want there, you just gotta spit it out as well. Even the food that you don't like, you gotta spit it out. So the point is, most of the time when you spit out something, it's done out of disgust. So that means Yahweh Shem Yahshai really detests your spirit. Obviously, if you then go back in the world, that's really it, man. And obviously that's going to be where you're going to have to face the judgment of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, and he won't really protect you. Speaking of protection, let's get to Psalms 18 verse 10. So, and it says here in Psalms 18 verse 10, and he rode upon a cherub. Oh, this isn't the one, so lucky. I didn't type out right. It's the one about a strong tower. Oh yeah, I can't. Oh, it's Proverbs 18 verse 10. Oh, can't. So lucky. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. I notice the key part there says the name of the Lord is a strong tower. Even though, brothers may know the name, the second part is also important too, where it says the righteous runneth into it and is safe. The thing is, if Yahweh Shem Yahshua doesn't deem you to be righteous in his eyes, obviously, as we know, scriptures say our righteousness is as filthy rags. But of course, Yahweh Shem Yahshua also has mercy upon us too. So that's really the grace right there. But the point is, even though we have the name, the thing is, if Yahweh Shem Yahshua spews you out, that doesn't apply to you too. So again, that faith, that reliance on Yahweh Shem Yahshua isn't going to then be there if he spews us out. Or if he spews out, certain individuals that are supposed to be in this truth, man. They may be there for just a certain while, and obviously being in that comfortable state and in that slothful state really is also a risk as well, because it's like hanging on a thin thread. When you're hanging on a rope and let's say the rope just starts to tangle a little bit, and obviously it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. That's really what's happening with our spirits and our connection with Yahweh Shem Yahshua, man. Imagine the rope as the connection between us and Yahweh Shem Yahshua. It strengthens the more we work, and let's say the more we get slothful, that's the more it weakens, So that's really the perspective right there, man. And obviously, the strong tower only applies to those of which Yahweh Shem Yahshua deems righteous, which is obviously based on the will of Yahweh. And in order to be on the good side, on the righteous side, one needs to work, as a servant of Yahweh. No, let me check this. Let me check Matthew 24 first. So lucky. The scripture pertaining to faithful and wise servant. Oh, calm. You know what? I'll read it as well. I'll read it. There's a few scriptures based on this. So this is Matthew 24, verse. I'll read from verse 42. This is Matthew 24. Let me check one more time. Matthew 24, verse 42. It says, "Watch therefore, for ye know not that what." So okay, Matthew 24, verse 42 onwards. "Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, doth come." And obviously this is Yahweh coming as well. It says in verse 43, "But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the tea." So can you read that? Matthew 24 verse 43, "But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up." So obviously if we were aware that Yahushua is coming, obviously we'll be prepared for it. That's the point. But the thing is, he will catch many unawares, And the thing is, we don't want to be caught unawares as well, which means obviously we've got to be looking for the signs that Yahushua did say in Matthew 24 as well, of what would happen, to look out for before Yahushua would then come and arrive. So verse 44 says, "Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not the Son of Man cometh." So obviously in a time where most people probably think that, Yahushua wouldn't come. So mainly probably, obviously in a time where people will find it unexpected that Yahushua comes. It says in verse 45, "He then is faithful, wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season." It says in verse 46, "Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing." So the point is, this faithful and wise servant mentioned in verse 45, the thing is, he was given a job to do. It says, "Whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household." That's basically a prophecy as well, to give them meat in due season. So again, Yahushua will help his servants in due season as well. But the point is in verse 46 where it says, "Whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing." So the point is really just to keep going, to keep doing the works, man. As the scriptures say, "Occupy till I come." As Yahushua said, "Occupy till I come." He came down here when he was, when he was in his previous vessel, before, he went up. The thing is, before he then transitioned to his glorified vessel, the thing is, he came here to do his father's business, man. That's the thing. He came here to do his father's business. So the point is, we are also here to do our father's business as well, Yahweh Hashem Yahshua's business. So it's our responsibility to make sure the building keeps going. So we have to keep laboring. We've got to be more consistent and just rise up to the standard, man. Obviously, I myself being the one who mainly has to take this advice. So, verse 46, it says, "Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing." So of course, we've got to endure to the end and keep working, man. Verse 47, "Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods." So of course the point is, just like the way Peter asks Yahushua, why are we doing all of this, basically, just to, simplify what Peter was basically saying, Then obviously the point is also mentioned here. It says, "Verily I say unto you," in verse 47, Matthew 24 verse 47, "that he shall make him ruler over all his goods." So of course, that's when, when the brothers teach about the fact that, we're going to be joint heirs with Yahushua. The thing is, this scripture also supports that too. It says that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. So that's a high level of trust, man. Ruler over the goods of someone else, of Yahushua's goods. So of course, that's going to be in his kingdom to come, which is going to be after the downfall of Babylon and all these other prophecies come out, like the MOTB, and obviously Jacob's trouble, and the nuclear missiles as well, Joel 2. God, that's the point. So it says, and verse 48, it says, "But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." So the point is, the evil servants, those who fall out of the truth, or are pretty much agents as well, that go against the truth, that anti-Messiah, anti-Christ spirit. The thing is, those people are going to be, the ones weeping and gnashing their teeth, man. And you don't want to be part of that lot. I don't want to be part of that lot. That's why, it all goes back to the root of really, listening to Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, man. Being part of that righteous household. That's really what it is. Speaking of, let me get this one too. Verse 3, verse 22. This is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 32. Proverbs 3, verse 32. It says, "For the froward is abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous." So of course, the froward meaning that the stubborn, those who don't listen to Yahweh Hashem Yahshua. Those are under abomination to Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, the ones that are stubborn. And of course, that's the last thing that, an Israelite wants to be. Because then that's when the indignation starts to descend on Israelites, That indignation during the time of judgment, which is Jacob's trouble as well. And of course, all leading up to the missile times as well, where they start to feel the fire, the burn, the way when their eyes start to melt and everything. That's going to be a very scary day as well, But of course, Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Tazar, that will be in the chariots too, man. Because that's really the only chance, man. That's the only way. And obviously, for those who don't understand, they're already finished anyways, man. The 2/3 are already done. So of course, those who have the understanding, this is really an opportunity to not take lightly, which obviously, in a state of comfort, it can be a mistake a person can make. When you're comfortable in the truth, you can take this thing quite lightly, and obviously it's not good to take it lightly, because that's when mistakes start to happen. That's when slothfulness starts to kick in, which is really what's affected me lately. But Proverbs 3 verse 32, for the fraud is an abomination, to the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, but his secret is with the righteous, man. So obviously, the understandings of the scriptures, the understanding of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, obviously the ones that he allows us to have, because obviously you can't fully understand the ways of Yahweh, because obviously if you did, what would be the point of the title, the Most High? Because obviously there's certain things the Most High has to know that we don't know, which obviously there's a separation, there has to be that order, But the point is, the secret is with the righteous. So knowing the prophecies, knowing how salvation is going to come out, knowing how things are going to play out, really. Obviously in a rough sense as well. We don't know pinpoint when things are going to happen, but we know we know the signs and the seasons. But yeah, really the point of the video is really just, if brothers are in a weak state as well, mainly me, because I'm the one really, he was slacking off lately, 3 weeks without uploading. So of course, the point is I just gotta keep going with that standard, man. I gotta keep uploading, really, keep up with the standard, and be as a wise and faithful servant of Yahushua. But Hakim, that's really the point, man. Just gotta keep up with the standard and keep up with consistency. But yeah, and Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Tazar, you've also you've been edified, maybe Hakim may meditate on a few things that I've said. But Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Tazar, that you're edified as well. And Father Yahushua for giving me the strength in order to do this video as well, man. Okay. So, Shalom Hakim, and as always, Kahalonim Na Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Bashem Rachakodash. And double on Instagram with some apostles as well. Shalom.